Greetings and salutations. It is the incredibly Derek, how do I say that usually? Incredibly creatively and appropriately named, right?
Yeah, we're only 5 seconds in. Do you want to just
I'm getting my wisdom
again?
teeth taken out tonight, and I'm already nervous about it that I can't talk.
I mean, we could just bag the intro there. 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Greetings and salutations. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. My name is Jake Query. That is...
Hi.
That's
you
Derek
know my
Schultz.
name. Say it.
Okay.
Say my name.
That's say my name.
Beyonce.
My name.
Actually, that was Destiny's Child. But you already knew that Beyonce's star was ascending at that point.
Okay.
Michelle Williams did a couple of other things, I think, after that.
I'm wearing a black and gold T-shirt today because two reasons. It is
Kelly
show
Rowland.
number 59, and in 59, in honor of that, we were going to say, we always do our favorite athlete with each respective number. It would have to be, right, Roosevelt Colvin, or you could go with Jack Ham. Either way, black and gold. And we're going to talk college football coming up later. I would imagine that is more Purdue than Indiana discussion. But bottom line, Derek, is this, and that is the Colts, the Tennessee Titans. We now know the Titans suffered a significant loss in this game, and the fact of Derrick Henry now may be lost for the year. But the Colts managed to basically snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
They blew it. They blew it. Sometimes you get beat. Sometimes you blow it. And the Colts blew it. They had umpteen chances to win that game, including very early, where I think they had a chance to land basically the knockout blow.
Right.
And were unable to do it. And those are the most frustrating types of losses, Jake. Because now you've had two losses essentially just like this, where the Monday night game in Baltimore, you were in control and you let it slip out of your fingers. And the same thing, I think, happened on Sunday with the game against Tennessee in the most critical game of the year. It's funny because last week we talked about how Carson Wentz had played above our expectations and even farther to your expectations of what he could be. We saw all of the demons, I think, come out for Carson Wentz because, look, I saw some people say, well, he was fine until the 2 turnovers. No, not really. Carson Wentz was off all game. I mean, 4.5 yards per attempt for a quarterback in 2021 is embarrassing. That's a really, really low number. 51 attempts to get to whatever his yardage total ended up being is not good. I thought you made a good point, and we'll get to all of this. I thought you made a good point about avoiding the safety. The second interception was egregiously bad.
Listen, in terms of, let's begin with this. In terms of the safety, and for those that are unfamiliar, I can't imagine there are people that are not, but what happened was the Colts late in the game get the ball. It's a tie game. They get it in deep inside their own territory, so they got to go the length of the field.
8-yard line, I think.
Presumably to get into field goal range to win the game. And on the first play, Carson Wentz, the pocket collapses. He kind of shovel pass, desperate, get rid of the football because he knows he can't take a safety.
He's in the grasp at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So he throws the ball out there, and it is randomly intercepted for a touchdown. And you think, oh, my goodness, I can't believe what I just saw. And then it hit me. Now, I think people mistakenly thought that I was trying to give Carson Wentz credit by saying, like, what a brilliant decision. That wasn't the case. What I was saying, though, was the irony here is that you think this is the world collapsing, but it actually was the best-case scenario. Because if he takes the safety, not only do you now surrender the lead, but you've got to kick off to a team that has Derrick Henry that's going to salt the clock away and the game's over.
And you have 2 timeouts
You've
left,
never seen the ball again.
And if you are, you've got 30 seconds probably.
Right. And so instead what happens, they get the ball back, and then they use the one play that Carson Wentz appears to have mastered, which is throwing ridiculously long footballs that are not catchable but getting a defensive pass interference.
He's got that down to a science.
He does.
His deep ball in general, it generally this season has been either a completion or a flag. So it's been a very positive play for
I want to say, Derek, what I was trying to say was I don't want it to be misunderstood. I was not giving him intellectual credit of saying, like, what a brilliant decision by Carson Wentz to have all of that right then and realize he couldn't take the sack and that a touchdown was their best way to get the ball back. I don't think that all processed in his head. I think he just thought, I can't get sacked, and he threw the ball in the air.
Oh, I think he knew that he couldn't take a safety there.
He did know that, yes, no question. But I don't think that he intentionally was like, man, if they score, we're going to get the ball right back. I'm just saying, to the eye, the touchdown scored, you think to yourself, that's the ball game. When in reality, of the two possible scenarios,
you're right.
it was the one that gave you still a puncher's chance, which they landed, that puncher's chance.
They did because they tied it, and then they had it again, Jake. They had a chance in overtime. I mean, they had 100 chances. And if any of them go right, the Colts end up winning that game. And, of course, they all just went horribly wrong. The decision to throw, I think it was a tight end screen to Mo Alley Cox, which is a slow-to-develop play when you're in the shadow of your end zone. Frank Reich took blame for that. If you go back and look, there was probably a very brief window, and we know this in the NFL, Jake, the windows close like that, right? Where Wentz could have just killed the play and decided not to. And I think that has been a problem for him, kind of like it was for Andrew Luck, a little too much hero ball. But, God, the interception, you're throwing into triple coverage on first down? All you need is a field goal.
Right.
Right? I don't understand really, like, the sense of urgency. I don't understand what makes you make that decision. Because that was like a desperation type throw, and it was really bad. I hate to kill the guy because, again, through 7 games, I thought he had played pretty well, but man, that was just an egregiously poor decision.
The thing about Carson Wentz that is mysterious and frustrating to an extent, when you watch him and you see him, like just right here behind us, where he's throwing here to Jack Doyle, you look at him.
That was a tud, too.
He's a touchdown, yes.
Yeah, tutty on that throw.
He's got the size. He shows at times the athleticism. You know, the pieces are there enough to really tantalize you and intrigue you of, yes, this is the guy we need to go with.
Yeah, besides the red hair, I mean, everything else screams franchise-level quarterback.
Derek,
besides the fact that he's ginger.
We have redheaded listeners and viewers of this program. Why are you alienating
Well,
them?
you don't think of somebody, and I love, Jordan, our former ginger sales, well, he's still ginger, but our former salesman at our old company. But it's just kind of one of those, you don't expect like a great athlete to be a redhead, right? To have red hair, like blonde, dark hair, maybe even some gray. Like we've seen some athletes that have had some like kind of a salt and pepper thing going on.
Fairly athletic.
Yeah. But generally, I mean, Andy Dalton, I guess, made a couple of Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
Is Blake Griffin technically part redhead? A little bit.
Is he?
I think his hair is kind of reddish, and he's got freckles.
So if he is, you're going to pick the one exception being a guy that can dunk over a car?
Oh, no, Blake Griffin's had a really nice career. I'm just saying that those examples are few and far between of redheads being like elite athletes.
Okay.
But I don't know if Carson Wentz is all the way redhead. Don't get me too off track here. Let's get back to the point because you kind of knocked us off track there with talking about the physical attributes and getting into him being ginger.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was going to say now. Look, I think
you would look at him and expect him to be an elite level quarterback.
And so
right?
This was a year of analysis of, is this the guy that once Andrew Luck retired, do we now have the franchise quarterback that we build around and he is the piece in place? There were times where you look at it and you go, absolutely, this guy looks good. And then other times you think, what are we doing here? But the Colts now are 3 games back, statistically speaking, in the AFC South. It is really more than that because they've been swept by Tennessee. I mean, you know what I mean? They've got
they're 4, essentially.
Right. If the Colts do not make the postseason, and maybe the Derrick Henry injury changes things here, but if the Colts miss out on the postseason, how far into the relationship and the partnership between Chris Ballard and Frank Reich do we go of not being a competitive, deep in the playoff team before you say, is this the direction that Jim Irsay wants to stay with? I'm not saying that I have a problem with either one of those guys, but are the seats warming for either of them if the Colts continue on this trajectory this year and finish the season 7-10?
Well, let's play out that scenario. So this is the absolute worst case scenario for this team has always been 7-10, 8-9,
Right.
and Wentz plays 100% of the snaps. Right? It's the worst case scenario. But looking at these two together, because remember Ballard came in a year early. So let's start with 2018. This would be the first season that's been a true abject failure if they were to finish with a losing record, especially considering how mediocre the AFC looks and really just the NFL in general.
Now, we have this debate a lot, Derek. Is it mediocre or is it actually really good and competitively balanced?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always partly that too,
right.
Where even the Jets can jump up and get you. But 2018, I think they squeezed every drop. 2019, you had the Luck retirement. I know they started 5-2 and collapsed. That team was never as good as they were in the first half of the season. It was a lot of smoke and mirrors through the first 7 games. 2020, I think they squeezed every drop again out of last year. Don't you? I thought they maybe even slightly overachieved last year with an 11-5 season and an aging quarterback. This year, they're underachieving. I'm not saying this to be like a homer or a Colts defender. The Colts are better than 3-5. They are, right? Don't you agree?
I mean, they're not. Factually, they're not. But yes, I agree with you.
It's not a great team, and I'm not trying to say that it is. I think I've been pretty level on my expectations for the Colts this year. But this, at worst, right now, should be a 4-4 football team. And even if they were 4-4, their playoff chances would be really, really strong right now.
I'm curious by this. You've seen this, right? I don't know if they can zoom in here, but
the superimposed logo and then the number.
Yeah, the players all have this, right? And some of them have like a different little catchphrase. Is this padding? Is that like does he have an actual horseshoe in a pocket there that makes that? What is that?
No, actually, that is a cell phone case, and that is Altoids.
Really?
So they keep both right there on their quads.
Okay, so he never knows when at least when you sack him, he's got fresh breath, and
that's right.
He might have sent a message to somebody.
And he could FaceTime, yeah.
I mean, there have been a couple of plays where
snaps.
Carson Wentz might as well have his cell phone there so that he can text the defender on where he's going to throw the ball, because he's telegraphing probably at times a little too much.
He was just off yesterday. And you hate to kill him for one bad game just because, I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I don't want to build a golden statue for Wentz when he plays well and also destroy him when he plays poorly. Right. But you need to kind of take the long view of this and look at everything. Games 1 through 3, he was injured and bad. Games 4 through 6, he looked healthier and very good. Let's throw out San Francisco. The conditions were terrible. Right. I thought he got it. We talked about that. He got away with some stuff last week. And this is the problem with everyone is so hyper-focused on TD-INT ratio. Well, he only threw one. Yeah, he had a fumble that on a technicality became a fumble. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that wasn't an interception.
And there have been plays where, there have been drives where, he did not throw an interception. But if you are blatantly over or underthrowing a receiver or missing an open receiver on a third down, that means you have to punt. It's the same thing, right?
I think somebody, and I forget who it was, brought this up on Twitter yesterday because people were joking about how Carson Wentz is elite at drawing defensive pass interference. And he was like, it'd be nice if he actually put this ball where the receiver didn't have to stop and backtrack for it.
Right.
Where Ashton Doolin actually got behind, and Ashton Doolin had a couple of bad drops. He actually got behind the secondary a couple of times yesterday, and they couldn't get that going.
Yeah, it was a frustrating game all the way around.
Should we talk about Taylor too? Everybody else wants to talk about that.
That's the big thing, Derek. There is a mystery involving the Colts that took place, and unfortunately, it is a growing mystery. Like, who's a mystery novelist? Was Agatha Christie? Did she write mystery novels?
I used to read the Hardy Boys.
Okay, the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
So call in Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys, because there's a mystery involving the Colts. And we'll tell you what that mystery is, and we have plenty to give away today as well in terms of our awards, in our segments that we do. College football to talk about the Pacers, but more on the Colts and what the mystery is we're talking about. We'll get to all of that next here on Query and Schultz, episode 59 on ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jake Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks to our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group for making our show possible today. Mortgages in a solid.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the first time we've gotten it on the first try, I think.
Really what?
We've messed that up a lot.
Usually it's your itty thumbs that are trying to do it, but that was solid.
I do have, and it's funny because people look at me and they're like, wow, he's got like really broad shoulders and buys and tries and all of that. I do have smallish hands. Smaller.
Let me see. Don't touch it, but put your hand up on mine. Okay.
It actually makes for a more compact, heavier hitting fist, as some have come to find out. Unfortunately, I've been on the wrong side of that. So this is actually a little bit more lethal than it covers less mass, but as I quick hit, because I have a really good right, I actually have a solid left too, can cause maximum damage.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you want to make sure that you're causing minimum damage when it comes to if you are buying a new home. You can soften the blow always when you go with Bailey & Wood, the mortgage leader.
Yeah,
right?
you have to get that
They're
pre-approval.
They're going to get you the best
You
rates.
have to get that pre-approval. Inventory is still very, very low for homes, so you have to be prepared, and you can do so with our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group, Mike Wood and his team. 13 Indiana branch locations. Give them a shout at 855-350-HOME, or you can go online at bawfg.com. Also, refinancing,
BAWFG.
all of that you can do through Bailey & Wood.
Okay.
Yeah. Great group over there. I feel bad for Mike and his Dolphins, but
yeah, the Dolphins are struggling, man.
great team over there.
Dolphins are struggling.
They might be Houston's real bad.
Are the Dolphins going to give up? Okay.
The Dolphins are arguably the worst team. You can make an argument they're the worst
Are
team in the
Houston and the Dolphins going to have a trade here that's going to send Deshaun Watson to Miami?
Yeah.
Or are the Dolphins going to stick it out with Tua?
league. They don't seem to want to stick it out with Tua.
I know.
Yeah, so maybe both teams are so bad that they can just kind of get away with. I mean, you can understand Houston. I mean, he's never going to take a snap for the Texans again, whether it's the Dolphins or anybody else. They're not going to keep him.
But here's the question I don't have, or that I have, Derek, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, and that is,
What if he's cleared of everything?
well, there have been no criminal charges.
Yeah.
I'm not here to defend the guy at all, but if the Houston Tech, like you say, you're like he's done in Houston. There's no way he can. Now, why is that? In other words, what
You can't risk that he is charged and then convicted.
But
with
that should be true then for any franchise. So why when you say, oh, he's never going to play in Houston again, okay, then why would he play in Miami? Why would the Dolphins?
Because the Dolphins are taking the risk that everything is okay. It's all about risk reward when you're approaching this. But I think Houston feels like we can't take that risk. We've got to get something for him. And Miami's thinking, we kind of know we don't have it with Tua. But let's take a chance here.
But what I'm saying is, why is taking that risk acceptable for a team that trades for him as opposed to the team where he was?
I hear you.
It doesn't increase or decrease the likelihood of his guilt or innocence.
I just think their actions show that it's all over for him there. I mean, they were sitting him even before anything was going to happen, I guess, or anything was brought up.
I mean, it is the whole situation.
It's a total mess.
Is a mess,
And it's too bad because he really was. I think I mentioned it on the show last year. He's one of my most fun players to watch, and he seemed to be outwardly, that's you just never know, Jake.
I mean,
behind
Derek,
closed doors.
This is a
how
guy
people
that when he was a freshman in college at Clemson University, he went to the student activities department and said, "Do you guys have a Habitat for Humanity here?" And they said, no, why? And he said, well, I grew up in a Habitat for Humanity house.
Work
so
done,
by the
right?
time, by the time he was a senior at Clemson, they had like the largest Habitat for Humanity, like in the Southeast at the school itself. And I mean, was going around and doing philanthropic things. And
smart guy, funny guy, likable personality, but it's, behind closed doors. If the allegations are true,
Right.
I mean, you have to attach the qualifiers on it. You just don't know.
it is
Yeah.
definitely a bizarre situation. The bizarre situation with the Colts, the mystery of which I speak. Derek, it is time for our Indiana Members Credit Union, as we do each and every week, our Player of the Week. And I'm going to tie in my mystery to that. But first off, no mystery about Indiana Members Credit Union and what all you get as a member of the credit union and all the benefits that come with it.
Free checking accounts, e-statements, low auto rates, and more. Check them out at imcu.com. See what IMCU can do for you.
Here's what Jonathan Taylor can do for the Colts. He can run the football. He can salt clock. He can open up the field. There are so many things that 28 can do for you, the Indianapolis Colts. My mystery and my player of the week. My player of the week is Jonathan Taylor if, late in the game, if the Colts simply decide to start using a guy that is emerging as one of the top 5 backs in the National Football League. Frank Reich, I know you're the quarterback whisperer. Why are you neglecting Jonathan Taylor? This is your key to winning football games, to scoring points, to building leads, to salting leads. He gets better as the game goes on, and yet it becomes a completely disappearing act. What is the reason why Frank Reich is refusing to incorporate 28 in the last, say, 12 minutes of a game?
You know me, I sound like a broken record. I have been Frank Reich defender. 5 touches combined in the fourth quarter and overtime. I just don't know how you defend that. I really don't. Teams take things away, and certainly the secret is out about Jonathan Taylor. Teams want to take him away. But 51-16, especially with Wentz as bad as he was.
I know.
And you could say, well, they're a player 2 from winning. Yeah, they were. I mean, they were right there, but it's not like Wentz was overly sharp that would necessitate him throwing that much.
Did you see where Jonathan Taylor was during the final interception of the game?
That's again, Jake. It's first down.
Now that's not
Right?
on Reich. That's on Wentz.
Yeah, it's
but
first down. Like
Jonathan Taylor was sitting. He was doing this, actually. He was in the middle of the field like this. And
It's at least 15 yards.
And he's saying,
if not more.
What's going on? I mean,
And all you need is a field goal.
I know.
Just a lot of the talk is going to be about the end zone interception because it looked horrible, like you mentioned. The second one was egregiously bad. It was the worst decision by far that he's made as a Colt, and one of the worst decisions that I've seen this year of any quarterback. And that's really saying something because we've seen some bad quarterback play.
So my player of the week is Jonathan Taylor because he wasn't played enough. But yours is who?
I actually took Chris Reed. I didn't think the offensive line was necessarily that great.
He
but
did have a
they've
pretty
solidified
bad
themselves.
hand to the face
Yeah.
penalty.
There were bad penalties all around. Kamoko Toure had a couple, and then he had a sack. Kind of like we saw
Yin
the
and
best
yang,
and worst of Wentz. We saw the best and worst of a couple of those guys yesterday.
We have discussed this before. I've mentioned it. It's going to sound crazy. Chris Reed, I agree with you. He's been solid, right? Been a nice player for them. Been a nice find. Has he been a solid or reliable enough find, even though I know the Colts, Derek, are under the cap? I get that. But do the Colts look at it and say, we don't need to commit big-time money at the guard position? And Quentin Nelson might be, he's what percent better than Chris Reed? 20% better? 50% better?
Significantly, but is that percentage even worth it?
Is it worth
I get where you're coming from.
800% more you're going to pay for him?
Here's what I think. You want to if we're going to talk about crazy things or kind of take the long outlook on this, I think if you extend Nelson, you have to do so considering that you're going to move him to left tackle.
I would agree with that.
At this point,
and then Reed becomes your left guard, right?
Originally, I was kind of like, okay, he's an elite left guard. Just let him stay an elite left guard. The Colts need their impact players to be at impact positions. You're just not an impact – left guard is not an impact position. It's just not. It's nice to have one. It's nice to have a great elite left guard, I guess, but it's not an impact position. So I think if you extend him, you have to at least keep that in mind. Or how about this, Jake? You give him enough reps at left tackle where you can put him there if you absolutely have to, so he can be versatile and move around, even though I think that's the lesser of the options. You either want him to be all in as a guard or all in as a tackle.
Right. I
mean, does anybody think Quentin Nelson couldn't handle that?
I remember when we would talk to Anthony Costanzo, and I would ask him all the time, like, now what is the difference between like the guard and tackle? It's they are different positions for certain.
I would rather Nelson be an Anthony Costanzo left tackle than be a Quentin Nelson level left guard. Is that an unpopular opinion?
No, I think a lot of people agree with you because left tackle is the position that is so hard.
It's an impact position
to lock down.
And guard
right?
isn't. It's just not.
But a guard I think of as moving. The guard I think of as a guy that can do this for you and just bulldoze a path for a quick run through. Excellent with Jonathan Taylor there, obviously. The tackle I think of is one that can move this way quickly and also do this if need be. I don't know that we've seen enough to know that Quentin Nelson has the hip lateral movement to secure the edge, as they say.
I don't necessarily know he could do it either, but he is so good at guard that I can't imagine he couldn't learn to be, if
That's
not
fair.
an elite left tackle,
That's fair.
at the very least a good to very good left tackle, because he's just he has so much ability.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Chris Reed is your Indiana Members Credit Union.
I mean,
Player
we're
of the Week,
really
right?
talking like this is almost like a conversation for like May. You know what I mean? We're
Right,
right
right.
in the middle of the season right now, so nothing's going to change right now.
No,
but,
I understand.
But you're right, Jake. I mean, if the Colts lose either of the next two, it's done for them. That's it.
They're hanging by a thread.
So
right now.
we
Look,
talk must wins and all of that. If
Colts-
they lose to the Jets or
Derek,
Texans, they're done.
The Colts have put themselves in position right now where the only thing that is keeping them with a pulse in the AFC South is Derrick Henry's foot injury.
Yeah,
right.
But they're very much alive in the wild card race.
Grover Stewart should be our player of the week because he has kept because he's the one that fell on Derrick Henry's foot, and I'm being facetious here. How about, by the way, I'm wearing, and you can always find like this shirt. I can hear you folks. I can hear it. That's a cool shirt, Jake. Where'd you get that? You're wearing the Purdue shirt. Yell Purdue. Indeed. The Shop Indy. That's theshopindy.com. 929 now, I think it is, Broad Ripple Avenue. But right next to the old Union Jack is where you can find the shop. 928 Broad Ripple Avenue. Right there on Broad Ripple Avenue. As well as Clay Terrace or theshopindy.com. T-shirts for Purdue, Ball State, Indiana, Butler, Colts, Pacers, whatever it might be. Or nostalgic Indianapolis. High-quality T-shirts, great fit. They hide the fact that you might be a little overweight like me and make you look toned. That's what the Shop Indy does. Why are you? But I'm wearing the Purdue shirt today because low-key, we haven't talked a lot about it. You go into Nebraska, tough atmosphere. I know that Nebraska is what is going on. My buddy Chip in Nebraska that I met when I went to the Nebraska game, those guys, that they're just like, what is going on with Scott Frost? But still, it's a raucous atmosphere, and it's a huge stadium and a sellout and intimidating. Purdue goes in, gets that win, and I'll tell you, Derek, kind of off the radar here, Jeff Brom, the losses that they have don't look as egregious now. Minnesota, Wisconsin, that's the cream of the West. So Purdue's in really good position here, more so than Indiana, certainly.
Oh, yeah. It's not that they lost those games. It's how they lost. Minnesota, they completely outplayed and still lost. Wisconsin, they laid an egg.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they just weren't competitive really in that game. But, yeah, if it all comes out in the watch, if Purdue has a 7-5 season or even 8-5 and wins a bowl game, the year's a smashing success.
Correct.
Because you had this malaise of 6-12 in 19 and 20, and to bounce back with that, Purdue's defense is really good. That's where the turnaround has come for them. And if the offense stays clean, they can be a good team, and that's what happened. Aiden O'Connell didn't have any turnovers.
Right.
They were +4, I think, in turnover margin against Nebraska. You and I are old enough to remember where winning at Nebraska was unheard of.
It was a huge deal.
But you're right; it's still a full stadium. It was and my buddy didn't coin this, but I steal it from him often. It was okay, it's time to fire our coach win for Purdue, where that's the game that's all she wrote for Scott Frost. If there was any hope of Scott, not because Purdue's bad, just because it's another home loss to another team that you were favored against.
They are winless in the Big Ten, are they not?
They won one. They're 1-5. I don't know who they beat.
Who did they beat?
Did they beat Northwestern? They're in the West, and Northwestern stinks. They lost to Illinois in the opener.
They're terrible.
Yeah. They lost to Michigan. I think they lost to Michigan State.
Did they beat Rutgers or Maryland?
They haven't beaten Purdue or Indiana since 2016, I think now.
Come on.
And here's the whole thing. And I don't want to get off on a tangent here. The whole reason
I'm looking up who they lost.
The whole reason that the Big Ten realignment has not worked is because Michigan State has gone like this and Nebraska has gone like this. If you would flip those two,
they need Nebraska.
You would even out the divisions a little bit better.
You're right.
But they made that alignment thinking that Nebraska was going to be Nebraska, and Nebraska hasn't been Nebraska in 10-plus years, and really 20.
And you are right. The Big Ten was – I mean, Nebraska has not upheld its end of the bargain, right?
I mean, they haven't even been Bo Pelini late Big 12 years level Nebraska.
They are indeed 1-5 in the conference. They are 3-6 overall. Nebraska's –
Is it Rutgers?
It's got to be, right?
Maryland? Was Maryland? Well, they have to be a crossover game because they're in the West.
Wow. And it was a 56-7 win. Northwestern.
Northwestern stinks. Really bad. The bad teams in the Big Ten are bad.
Yeah, they beat Nebraska.
Like at this point,
they beat Northwestern.
Can we just call – I know that we kind of leaned back on strength of schedule. Maryland is not good. And Maryland did whatever they wanted in that game.
You talking about with Indiana?
Yeah, Indiana's just bad. There's a not so unrealistic chance that Indiana could go 2-10.
I know,
which would be beyond the absolute worst case scenario that you could have ever imagined for this.
And
season.
I know that Indiana has had. I mean, look,
injuries. They've had a lot of stuff.
Injuries have hurt them for certain. And it looked like that. You know, they got some good play at quarterback out of a freshman, which you have to be happy about.
Donovan McCulley.
Yeah, from Lawrence North, but
good athlete.
Is Indiana well coached?
I mean, Nick Sheridan, Tom Allen have not exactly cloaked themselves in glory this year. I think the defense, for the most part, has done its job when it's been given the opportunity to do its job. It's just the offense has put it in a lot of bad spots. But the offense has been the big letdown. I mean, you approach this season thinking to yourself, okay, Indiana's defense is legit. They have legit players, McFadden, Mullen, and all that. All they need is good QB play. And they had it last year, right? And they've had it here in recent years, or at least steady QB play. They even had that with Peyton Ramsey. Remember that team from what was 2019 team that went to the Gator Bowl and he took over and played pretty well. This year they haven't had that. It's been all over the place.
It has.
And whether it be injuries or whatever else. I mean, it's not like Penix and Tuttle have looked good even when they've been healthy. And they've really struggled.
I think they've stuck with Penix too long, and then things got off the rails. And
yeah, it's ugly.
But anyway, kudos to Purdue.
Kudos to Purdue for sure. And I think they've got a real chance. They've got an outside chance still at 8, and I think at worst they're going to go 6-6. So the bowl eligibility thing, I think, is they answered that question. And then Notre Dame, Notre Dame's going to have the most unimpressive 11-1 season I think ever. They are. Offensively, they've really kicked it into gear. I'll give them credit there. But that defense of theirs is, without Kyle Hamilton especially, is really mediocre.
Why is Notre Dame not even getting discussed in terms of the playoff?
Because the ACC stinks.
I mean, they're not even getting discussed.
There are no good games. I mean, that Wisconsin win is going to age better. The Purdue win actually has aged kind of nicely for Notre Dame.
Which team did I tell you in week 1 I said was a lock for the playoff?
I don't know. Did you say Ohio State?
Yes.
They weren't very impressive.
They lost to Oregon, and I'm like, it is a matter. They're going to blaze their way through. They're going to beat Michigan State. Michigan, come on, man.
Michigan had no business. This is who Michigan is, Jake. With Harbaugh, they win a bunch of games. They look real pretty, and when it comes down to the
games that matter,
the games on the line,
right.
they blow it over and over again. They had no business losing that game Saturday.
They are
none.
Jim Harbaugh, while at Michigan, is 3-9 against Michigan State and Ohio State.
Yeah, awful. And Ohio State you could live with because Ohio State is, and their fans aren't living with it, is a supernova. They're 3-4 against Michigan State, right?
Yeah,
you can't do that. You can't do that there.
And yet they just keep paying. You lost to who again? Oh, well, here's another 100.
It'd be like Texas. Texas can go have a 1-5 stretch against Oklahoma. When Texas starts routinely losing to TCU, that's a problem.
Right. TCU just fired their coach, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and we could talk about that because he's actually one of my features this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, part of one of my features, quick hits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do quick hits coming up, and we got to get to the Pacers as well.
Do we have to, though? Do we have to get to the Pacers? Are we obligated to get to the Pacers?
Right now, the Pacers
are a basketball team that exists.
The Pacers have not been quick hits, but rather just consecutive blows, right? Over and over and over.
So good about the Pacers. Sorry, I didn't want to do that right into the microphone.
I'll tell you what. We'll stick with college football for now because That's how we get to our Love That Play, and that's next on Query and Schultz.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's Query, it's Schultz. It's your favorite sports show in existence.
Okay.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Can you hand me the hat?
Either on ISC Sports Network, maybe you're on Comcast 81, maybe you're watching on our YouTube channel, maybe you're listening to the podcast. There are lots of ways to get us all up in you. So we appreciate you letting us in. Sorry, I shouldn't raise my eyebrows with that. That almost sounds like
Yeah, do you want to
sexual.
start that whole thing over again?
letting us in.
I'll just be sitting right here with the hat, like the family-friendly, G-rated program that we are. And Derek, you can take it out, please, and let everybody know about Chateau Kitchens, and do so in a if you could, a more antiseptic type.
Okay,
wording.
3, 2,
Okay.
1. Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz. Little Query, little Schultz. All up in you. Your favorite sports show. Sorry, I like that. All up in you. We've never really had a slogan.
Well, that ain't going to be it. I can tell you that right now.
Remember when we first were hired on the radio, and I had already known JMV for several years, and I think you had been friends with him
Right.
forever. And our old boss, he was a great guy, but he was a little out there.
He was cool, dude.
He was like hell-bent. Like I think he felt wronged from JMV leaving our station to go to 1070. And he was hell-bent on like doing, let's do a slogan where we're not like JMV. We're the anti-JMV. And I'm like, we were both like, man, we're not comfortable with this. Like,
Right.
yeah, we're competitors,
Right.
but we like him. But ever since that is the only time that I remember ever talking about doing a slogan for the show.
Derek, let's just go ahead and put all up in you in the same grouping as that of not being comfortable.
How about
with it.
Split Ow?
What?
Split Ow.
What have you been watching? Batman reruns?
All up in you. ... Split Ow. Query and Schultz. What were we talking about? We were talking about Chateau Kitchens. They'll come all up in your house
I'm
and
sure
make
that-
it real pretty. ChateauKitchens.com. Give Steven and his crew a call. We actually went to the tile shop with Megan, who is our project designer, and picked out tile, which was a lot of fun. And then we looked at bathroom fixtures. We mixed and matched a little bit. We went with a Delta faucet. We kind of like the sleekness of
You're
that,
doing well
and then
here.
a shower
You're doing
head
good.
of the Kohler variety brand.
You're doing well. Thank you. I thought you were going on the wrong path there, and now I feel
What do
like
you mean
I
the
can
wrong path?
comfortably. The folks at Chateau.
I never go on. Jake, I'm a professional, mature broadcaster. I never, unless you take me down the wrong path, I never go there.
Okay.
And even then, I fight against that.
The hat looks great, doesn't it?
It does look good. Yeah.
So too will your kitchen. or your
Backwards, it
bathroom.
looks depressing and sad. Forwards, it looks fine.
Well, backwards, it doesn't do any good because then you can't see the fabulous Chateau Kitchens.
right.
And home remodeling.
At Chateau
logo.
Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook, see some of their before and after pictures, guys. Look, I can't recommend them enough. They are tremendous. They did a wonderful job on our kitchen. We're psyched about the guest bathroom. We're going to do the basement with them. Every project that we do.
Oh, you're
going to
do something with the toilet in the basement?
Yeah, we're actually having a plumber come and take it out. Yeah, it started leaking. And the problem is that there was still some remnants in the tank. So I used it the first time, and I cleaned the bowl portion of it out and sanitized the bowl. But there was still water in the tank that had been sitting there for 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, I mean, even longer than that. It's a 1923 house.
Great.
So could have
Thank
been
you.
sitting there since,
Right.
I don't know, like the Johnson administration.
Okay.
But yeah, chateaukitchens.com.
All right.
You always get us off track on this.
Yeah, that's all my fault.
Love that playtime?
Love that play. Sounds good to me.
How about this?
We go back to college
yeah,
football,
kind of
right?
piggybacking on our conversation about Notre Dame. It was one of those games. I guess North Carolina briefly took the lead in the third quarter, but you know North Carolina. They score a bunch, they give up a bunch. You never really felt like that game was in doubt for Notre Dame, but the knockout blow came. Kyron Williams had a ridiculous, in the shadow of his own end zone, reversed field, took it to the sideline, and housed it from 91 yards. And it's rare that this happens. I think we know Notre Dame has become a top 10 program again, right? They're respectable. They're very good. They still kind of rarely have those guys that you feel like would be frontline players on Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State.
And he is one.
Kyron Williams and Kyle Hamilton are two guys that they would start at any school in the country. They are elite level players. Now, Kyron Williams isn't going to be like a big NFL draft pick. He's small. Kyle Hamilton's going to be a top 10 pick. We'll see what happens with his knee injury. But a tremendous play from a guy that's really just going to have to Notre Dame's offense, if they're going to go where they want to go, which is 12-1, so 11-1, win a New Year's Six Bowl, it's going to have to be on the back of Kyron Williams.
And by the way, Love Heating and Air Conditioning, right here, Love Heating and Air Conditioning. They're home run hitters, long run touchdown guys, whatever you want to call it, every time you call them. How long have they been around? Over 100 years. Derek, by the way, put the hat on backwards. I want to see how it looks on you. Over 100 years, love-hvac.com for Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Since 1920, serving Central Indiana, family-owned business, 4 generations deep. How do you last that long? Very simply. Derek, the hat looks fabulous on you.
Looks good, yeah.
Very simply, you last that long with
Should
great
do the top
product, knowledge of the product, commitment to customer service, fabulous prices. That's everything you get with Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Love-hvac.com, 317-353-2141. 317-353-2141. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I've known Chris and John Love so long that I knew them actually back when dressing like that was acceptable.
It's coming back.
Why were you just – I'd turn around and you were
I was trying to do the top button. I was told I tried to get into Tiki Bob's one time, and they told me I couldn't have my top button. I guess it's like a gang affiliation thing when you do the top button. Also, backwards hats. The downtown bars used to not let you wear backwards hats. Sorry, I've attempted to enter Tiki Bob's 4 or 5 times in my life, and I've been successful 4 of the 5 times. But the one time I wasn't, I had a shirt on with the top button.
Usually, that you're not allowed to.
It's
to
like
button the top
Debo
button.
from Friday. You remember?
But here's the thing: do they not want the top button buttoned because then it's faster to rip off? Because guys always end up getting arrested when they rip their shirts off at Tiki Bob's, right?
Yeah, and
that
peeing
happened.
themselves. Right, the Colts draft pick did that, right? He wet himself. Did he get tased? I think he got tased, and then he lost control of his bladder from the shock level of it. John Boyette, was that his name? Yeah,
Oregon,
John Boyette out of Oregon.
I think
who
ripped
never
his shirt
played
off.
1 second for the Colts.
And Michael Olowokandi also ripped his shirt off, didn't he?
Well, and at least with Olowokandi, big dude, #1 pick, he'd played the Do You Know Who I Am card, and people were like, well, yeah, we actually know who you are. John Boyette tried to play the Do You Know Who I Am card, and the cops were like, no, man, we have no idea who you are. You're covered in urine, and, you're on the ground.
Then there was another
We don't know
guy.
you.
There was another Colts draft pick in that same year, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, that was asleep in the median at 38th and Lafayette.
Yeah. Rake will know that one. It was a defensive player, I think.
That's correct.
Maybe one of the linebackers.
I think that's right.
That
That
had
was.
that?
It was from Oregon. John Boyette. No, John
No,
Boyette
no.
was
The guy. Remember, there was a guy that
He was
alcohol was like passed out
at
on the side
38th
of the
and
road.
Lafayette.
Yeah,
he was at 38th
basically.
and Lafayette in the median. People were like, "There's a guy asleep in the median."
I thought it was training camp, and he was up closer to Anderson. Were they in Anderson at that time?
I'm certain it was the Lafayette exit.
I'll
of
look it up
38.
to be sure. Yeah. The Colts always stayed on the right side of PR in this town because they actually did have.
I know.
It's a big roster, so players are going to get arrested. It's going to happen. You're going to have problems. But I remember that those were like almost barely covered, whereas anytime anything happened with the Pacers, it was front page news.
Right.
I always kind of felt for them in that
I
way.
wonder, do you think John Boyette played anywhere else?
I looked it up once, and no, he did not play an NFL snap. Okay. I think he might have played for a CFL team.
Okay, fair enough.
Rough Riders, maybe, because it was a rough night for him at Tiki's.
Did you know, by the way, one of the CFL teams changed their name?
To what?
Edmonton.
Oh, is Eskimos not PC?
Apparently not.
That's what they were, right? Edmonton Eskimos.
Edmonton Eskimos. Do you know what they are now?
I have no. I didn't know they changed, so I have no idea.
They're the Elks.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Edmonton Elks.
I've eaten elk meat.
Really?
Yeah, meat from an elk.
Well, I figured elk meat was meat from an elk. Yes.
Yeah,
And
just
my
I don't know,
deductive
just to
reasoning was
clarify.
very strong there.
I had an
How
elk
was it?
burger. It was good. It was good. It wasn't too gamey. Venison is really good too.
Salty, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not very rustic. That may surprise you. I grew up in suburban Connecticut.
You're wearing a flannel.
But yeah, I do like elk.
Time for quick hits.
Quick hits. You ready?
Yeah.
Don't touch me. But we'll do quick hits.
I'm trying to hit you.
Quick hit number one, Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints, said he actually cried watching Jameis Winston suffer what is a major injury. We're taping this around lunchtime on Monday, so by the time you're watching this, we might already know he's out for the year. It sure looks like he's out for the year.
Right.
He was celebrating in the locker room on crutches, which was kind of funny.
Makes you wonder, does New Orleans now, who is, obviously a good team, but does New Orleans go out into the Cam Newton market, or do they stay the course with what they have?
You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
His season is done, so he has no conflicts as of right now in his retired life. Do you give Phillip Rivers a call, who has said that he is open to coming back for the right situation?
Yes.
I think you have to at least give him a call, right?
Right.
Yeah. But, yeah, I do think, the Saints are
When
kind
you
of
say
kind
his
of in that
season,
mix.
he is coaching.
Yeah, his high school season is
Right.
over. So he coached, I think, his son's team in Alabama or whatever state. He's down south somewhere.
Right.
So maybe you end up giving him a call. But it sucks. Sucks for Jameis. I've always kind of, and I know that he's had some issues. Weirdly, I've always kind of liked Jameis because I think he's a little bit like Wentz in that he's got really high highs and really low lows.
He does.
Man,
when he was in college, he was dynamic.
Oh, he was an unbelievable player. And even in Tampa, he flashed that occasionally,
Right.
but just not enough, consistently to keep him as QB1.
I would have liked to have seen him. I would have been happy for him to see, he's had some weird stuff, but I don't know that and the crab legs, I get it.
Immature stuff.
Immature stuff, yeah. And so I would have liked to have seen him show that he had turned things around.
Gary Patterson is done at TCU, so he
Yeah,
will
how
not
about
have
that?
time to turn things around. I don't think you can understate what kind of job he did there.
I know.
They had 10 double-digit win seasons in 20 years. TCU. Like look at this, Jake. Go back and look. 2005, 11-1, finished 9th in the country. 2009, 12-1, played in the Fiesta Bowl, finished 6th. 2010, won the Rose Bowl, finished 13-0, finished 2nd. 2011, finished 13th, 11-2, 12-1, won the Peach Bowl, number 3 in the country in 2014. And 2017, top 10 Alamo Bowl.
So how does a guy like that get fired midway through the year?
21-22 the last couple of years, and I think there was just a feeling that it was time for both sides to kind of move on. The program had lost some momentum. The only reason that I've actually kind of semi-followed what's going on is because I follow Mac. And Mac sometimes, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, one of
Right.
Query's best friends, actually saved his life.
Mac Engel,
a
yep.
really gifted journalist. Actually, I kind of wanted to do a show with him instead of Jake.
You came close.
He does talk Fort Worth and Dallas DFW sports, and occasionally we'll talk about TCU. And I kind of looked it up because his bowl record was amazing too.
What was his overall record?
Overall record 181-79, and they only had they had 4 losing seasons, and not if you count this one, but they finished ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times in 20 seasons at TCU.
Would you say that TCU getting rid of him was a sage move?
I think all relationships, when it comes to coaches, kind of reach their expiration date.
Because
So
our
sure.
WGU sage move of
We can
the
use
week
that one.
is yet to come. That's yet to come.
Oh, it is? Okay.
What's next on the quick hits?
Oh, that was it. I only had 2 quick hits for today. It's still plural. We did 2. It's good enough.
Okay.
We'll come back. Sage move of the week. We've got our winner of the week to get to.
That's right.
We are obligated to talk Pacers. Bite or Bowl Bleep? Still a lot to come here on this edition of Query and Schultz, episode 59 on ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
My goodness. 122.60 for Penn. What a swim. Six of them.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Quick turnaround for the Colts, Jake. They've got a Thursday nighter against the Jets. I was talking about this with Rakestraw, and I get that you have to put everybody on Thursday night. This might be the third time that the Colts and Jets. I know they played a Monday night game in Indy, and the Jets actually beat them. I think this is the third time in like the last 10 years the Colts and Jets have been a primetime game, and I feel like the NFL might be doing that because of Super Bowl III, and then
well, they definitely did one of them on the 50-year anniversary, right, of Super Bowl III.
I think we're kind of overrating the relevance of.
I mean, the Jets and Colts for a long time were divisional rivals, so you would think that
they played in the same division. I don't know if I ever.
Well, I wouldn't say rivals, but what I'm saying is they faced each other every year. Is what I'm getting at. So like you would think that novelty was kind of worn past.
Yeah,
but
Thursday night games suck.
Listen,
I hate Thursday night football.
If you want to. Derek, you want to talk about how great it is so that people will turn around and want to buy for only Indy tickets. Right?
Oh, no. I think that the Colts actually hosting a primetime game is amazing.
Right. And being in the stadium is cool, right?
But I generally hate Thursday night football.
But if it was a game that you decided that you wanted to attend, whether it be the Colts on Thursday night against the Jets or perhaps the Pacers, okay, or something going on and it's in Indy, then the place to turn is.
Yeah, don't forget concerts. You're a big concert guy.
If there's an event that you'd like to attend
in Indy.
Well, you didn't
mention concerts by name.
Do you want me to start naming concerts that I'd like to attend?
You always get on me when I do the read, so I'm just holding you to the same standard that I do.
The band that I most would like to see in concert is not performing.
Okay.
I'd like to see Oasis.
But
they're not together.
If Oasis ever came here, they played maybe the State Fair free stage or something like that, you could get tickets through only Indy Tickets.
You know, they actually were here, and they got into an accident underneath the Arts Garden.
Oh, boy.
The Gallagher brothers.
There are a lot of accidents underneath the Arts Garden.
Only Indy tickets, right?
How about this? I looked it up, and I get that fans are bummed because the Colts just lost a big game, right? But it's the first primetime home game since 2017. You can get in the door for $20.
Yeah.
$20. Only IndyTickets.com.
Only IndyTickets.com.
100% money back guarantee. See, this is kind of the risk. There are companies where you have some problems, or even on the street where people sell non-authentic tickets, so you have to guard against that. You never have to worry about that with only IndyTickets.com. You can sign up for their email list, so any event that they have tickets to, you could be notified of that by email.
100% guarantee.
100% guarantee.
Love that.
It's a great site. Really, really enjoy it. And I know a lot of people took advantage of the Colts promo code last week, which saved you $15 on your purchase. Didn't Keith do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only Indy
so
tickets.
Our buddy Keith, and longtime listener, I know, bought through only Indy Tickets.
Only IndyTickets.com, right? Okay.
Hammer it home.
So, Derek, we have to get to here in talking about, because you said we're obligated, talking about the Pacers. Karis LeVert is back on the floor. Chris Duarte, I think, still continues to impress, but a little bit with LeVert on the floor, kind of figuring out how those two are going to play together. I think the Pacers' problem, quite frankly, is I love Miles Turner and what he brings to the table defensively, but you kind of don't know, offensively speaking, what you're going to get from him night in and night out, and they just don't have depth in terms of scoring and coming in from the wings and defensive collapse on the wings.
You got to score if you're Turner. You got to score more than 5 points. I don't need Turner to go for 20 every night, but he's got to do more than 5, 6, 7 points. That's just not good enough. And I don't want to make it all about him, Jake. I think I said going into the season, the biggest mistake that the Pacers could make is running back the entire roster, which is essentially what they did outside of adding Duarte, obviously, in the draft. They changed the head coach. This team, even fully healthy, I think has a very clearly defined ceiling. It's just not a great basketball team. It's
That's
just
fair.
It's just not.
I think, Derek,
could they be? They're better than this. They're better than 1-6.
let me be the overly optimistic guy here. When you look at guys like there are players getting significant minutes that I didn't think were going to get significant minutes at this point. Wanamaker, your number 3 point guard. O'Shea Brissett, who's played well.
Yeah, he's a nice rotation player.
You know, he has been a nice player for them. Craig, has gotten some minutes. I think that Rick Carlisle is using the first 15 to 20 games to just throw all combinations out there and log into his brain what exactly works and who he can count on and who he can't. And then he tightens the rotation. And by the time we get, let's say, into the new year, then you have a real good idea who your team is. And it is coming at the cost right now of some frustrating moments because you're like, why is this combination on the floor? Why? Well, because you're experimenting with everything out there, and Carlisle is trying to assess what he has. What do we have here? What are we doing? If you think of Hoosiers, you've seen Hoosiers, right?
Yep, of course.
The first practices when Norman Dale gets there, and they're like, when do we start, dribbling and shooting the basketball? And he's like, right now he's, the conditioning, and he just wants to see what he has before he starts incorporating in, like, look, I know you guys can play basketball. I want to see what you can do in terms of your conditioning, your defense, whatever else. I think Rick Carlisle with this team is putting players on the floor and combinations on the floor that are not representative of what you're going to see at the end of the year. But it is not comfortable for fans right now, plain and simple.
Yeah, and that's all well and good with a young team, but this is a veteran squad. Miles Turner's been in the league, like 7 years now?
Right.
Sabonis has been in the league. LeVert's been in the league. Brogdon's been in the league. Warren, when healthy, has been in the league. And I think that's where the frustrating thing is. Scott Agnes, our buddy who's been doing his own thing with Fieldhouse Files and does a nice job on his Substack, tweeted out that they drew 10,000 on a Saturday night. And it's Halloween weekend. There's a million things going on. But I think the biggest reason for that is that fans know that this team has a defined ceiling, and if they don't have the potential to be great, what's the point? In Major League Baseball, the Braves can win 88 games and then win the World Series.
Right.
In the NFL even, we've seen the 9-win Giants. God, the Giants did it a couple of times.
The Eagles?
Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of teams that –
catch fire late?
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles were actually the 1 seed that year, but they were written off because Wentz got hurt, right? You don't do that in the NBA. There aren't those stories where somebody, you had the 8-seeded Knicks, I guess, in a lockout season, went to the finals, but then they got thoroughly dispatched with.
In the bubble?
The bubble is its own entity.
Right. You're right.
For the most part, in a best-of-7 series, the better team is going to win 90% of the time, and probably upwards of that. And I think that's the frustrating thing about the NBA is that even if you sneak into the play-in, who cares? You're not going anywhere. And this team, even healthy, it's just – can it be good? Can it be better than 1-6? Yeah, absolutely. Is it great? No, it's not. There's nothing that's going to change this season that makes this a great team.
Now, I will say, Derek, that if, in fact, it comes together and guys like O'Shea Brissett or, some of the players that we've seen so far early in the year getting minutes become part of a rotation, but it all comes together, and then it's like 1994 all over again where the postseason rolls around and you're like, whoa, here come the Pacers. Then you would say, Rick Carlisle, that was a sage move from Rick Carlisle, and perhaps at that point it would qualify for our Sage Move of the Week. What exactly is that, you ask? Sage Move of the Week, where we talk about somebody who made a sage move, but brought to you by WGU Indiana, because it's always a sage move when you're talking about going ahead and completing a college degree, or maybe for the first time entering into the arena of college education. WGU is here for you in that regard because ambition never rests. WGU.edu/Indiana for Indiana's largest online accredited university. Whether you are looking to simply put together the final pieces on a career that you started and then put on the shelf when life got in the way, or perhaps you are going out and deciding that you want to add to a degree or simply go for the first time. WGU.edu. Sage sitting right on Derek's shoulder.
This is cute. I like
Beautiful.
this. I like the soft, like, non-threatening owl. I don't like that.
Why?
I don't like that one. I don't like that one or the
Sage
Jordan
is
created.
awesome.
It actually might have been Jake Morris that created the swooping, like, owl.
Oh, the GIF,
graphic.
yeah. Wonderful.
Not a fan.
Your Sage Move of the Week is who, Derek?
How about this? And I kind of poo-pooed them, I think, on the show. Or maybe I just did it privately. Michigan State's 8-0.
How about that?
And Mel Tucker, who has had a really odd rise, where I think he was at Georgia and I think he might have had a couple of NFL stops as well. He takes the Colorado job, I think, in 2018.
Right.
And then immediately, didn't do that great of a job at Colorado. Colorado was kind of bad, so I guess they won a couple of games and got excited. Takes the Michigan State job right away. And Michigan State, we mentioned Gary Patterson. Mark D'Antonio had a great run at Michigan State. The end years were not good. I mean, it was as much as I love Gene Cady,
fell off a cliff,
the end years fell off a cliff, right? And that's what happened with D'Antonio, and not just on the field, but off the field too. Mel Tucker inherited a really bad situation at Michigan State. So for him in year 2 to be in the playoff conversation and have this team 8-0, it's incredible.
Right.
They still have they got to go at Purdue, which is not an easy game. They have to play at Ohio State, and they have to play Penn State. So Michigan State is not by any means out of the woods. And I don't think that they're going to end up being a playoff team. But just the fact that we're having that conversation coming off 2-5, no one expected anything out of the Spartans this year. Great job by Mel Tucker.
So my buddy Dr. Mottman and I, he's a Michigan State graduate. And I was with him Saturday night right after that game, and he warned me that he didn't know if he'd be able to talk because his voice was so shot from screaming at the television in the Michigan State game. Huge.
Yeah.
You saw Michigan State students were kicking in windshields. I
saw.
That seemed a bit much.
How about this for an unpopular opinion? I like Michigan State's fight song better than Michigan's.
How's Michigan State's go?
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's really good.
Well, Michigan's is no, wait a minute. No, that's Notre Dame. I was doing Notre Dame's. Michigan is
that's unforgivable to do. Michigan fans are gonna get real mad.
Yeah, I did Notre Dame's, which is Notre Dame's is which one?
That's right.
Okay. Maybe I did do Michigan. I don't know.
They might play Michigan in a New Year's Six Bowl, which would be kind of an interesting traditional matchup.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. There'd be some interest. Both of those fan bases care about that game.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then Michigan's got a big game, primetime game at ABC against Indiana.
How about that? The Indiana, my buddy Rob Whitaker is going to that game. He's all fired up at the beginning of the year. Hey, how about tickets for Indiana at Michigan?
Yeah.
And now he's got to drive up to Ann Arbor for a 7:30 kick.
Yeah. Matchup between
to win Indiana.
Matchup between two teams that have won half of a national championship since the Eisenhower administration.
Your favorite stat, right?
Michigan football, man. Hey, it was really great that they were great in 1908. But yeah. Bunch of 9-3 seasons since then. Michigan football has basically gone 9-3 for 70 straight years.
We're going to do a toast to our winner of the week. And we're going to do Buy It or Bull Schultz. We're going to do it next on Query and Schultz.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
I thought it was hilarious. Welcome back to Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network, where each and every week we get the pleasure of awarding our winner of the week from the American Dairy Association of Indiana. American Dairy Association of Indiana, of course, brings us the milk facts. We will get to that. But, Derek, one thing that is always a winner, always a winning idea, is if you decide for dinner that it's time for Smoke and Barrel Barbecue, right?
Well, this is actually becoming a challenging segment for me when we have to mention Mike and CJ and Smoke and Barrel, because we're taping this, full disclosure, right now, like right around lunchtime, and I didn't eat breakfast, so I've only had coffee, and it's like 1 o'clock, and I'm starving. So now we're going to talk about how awesome Smoke and Barrel Barbecue is.
You're craving some
and
brisket
I'm
tacos, aren't you?
Oh, God. Mac and cheese, all that stuff, man. Burnt ends. It's so good.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We've mentioned this before. You know, I think that you and I, Derek, have, and I think most people do in Indianapolis.
A deep friendship?
No. You and I do not have a deep friendship. We have a solid working partnership.
Something you
But we have an appreciation for people that work well together, and in particular, just the family values of Central Indiana. And you get both of those, right, with Smoke and Barrel, because not only are you getting great barbecue, but you're obviously patronizing a place that is local, that is Indianapolis through and through, but has great people that work well together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great crew, and Mike's kind of in the kitchen working his magic, and then CJ's shaking hands, kissing babies. But they do make a great husband and wife team at Smoke and Barrel Barbecue. East German Church Road, so just before you get out of Warren Township, it's still in Indianapolis. If you get out there, and we've mentioned it before, and I think they love the fact that we bring this up, you can eat in there, but it's a bingo hall.
That's right.
Which is something just cool about eating delicious barbecue at a bingo hall. But also you can order and then grab and go right there at the curb. SmokeandBarrelBBQ.com with dashes in between.
You know what I was thinking? If you were in there eating at the bingo hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're eating your Smoke and Barrel Barbecue inside the bingo hall,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you're finished, you know what you can yell out?
Bingo!
No. I ate. You know, just like that. Like B6, like when you're calling up thing. I ate. But I ate Smoke and Barrel Barbecue. Right? That's the kind of brilliance that people are looking for with this program. When they hear stuff like that, Derek, you wish you'd thought of that.
I don't know, man.
you wish.
I think I might just leave.
You wish you'd thought of that.
I just might. See, look it. Now you're knocking stuff over. That's really bad. Really,
you know
really
what would
bad.
happen? You know,
hopefully they're not watching this.
You know what you would be if you left?
What's that?
B86.
All right. That's good. Smoke and Barrel Barbecue. Follow them on social, smokeandbarrelbarbecue.com.
It's all right here.
With dashes in between.
It just pops out. Does that not make me your winner of the week?
Well, they're not going to be a sponsor of the show anymore. We know that. Thanks for the memories, Mike and CJ. We appreciate you.
I will guarantee you
being
they're
on our
gonna be
team.
all about that. They're going to say to themselves, actually, they're going to put up their I ate. That's what they're going to say. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Derek, I have the milk facts in front of me. Would you
Okay,
like them?
fire away.
Did
I always
you
forget
know after a workout, okay? After a workout, did you know that low-fat chocolate milk, it is an outstanding refueling beverage? That's because perfect mix of carbs and protein after a workout. 8 ounces of low-fat chocolate milk, which is right here, as much calcium as 10. That is correct. 10 cups of raw spinach, as much potassium as a banana.
That's good.
Helps with the cramping. And as much vitamin A as 2 boiled eggs, right? All of that right there in ice-cold chocolate milk. And, of course, whatever milk it is you might be going with, whether it be 2% whole milk, any of it. The American Dairy Association of Indiana, their farmers are working hard to bring that milk to you, and we are always so happy and so pleased to be able to represent them with our Winners Drink Milk Winner of the Week, Derek.
You picked it, though, right?
Huh?
You told me that you picked it.
I'll tell you who mine is.
Because I agreed with you, but now I don't remember who it was.
You
told me before the show.
I think I said, actually, it should be Jonathan Taylor because they completely forgot about him, and the Colts completely forgot about him, and that should be our –
You were going to make that joke.
Our winner of the week should have been Jonathan Taylor.
But I think
right?
you said – but we ended up making him kind of the joke IMCU player of the week, didn't we, for the Colts forgetting about him and being prominent? What about I'm spacing on his name now, the backup quarterback for Dallas, and they won the Sunday Night Football game last night.
Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wonderful to watch a guy with his family in the crowd, and his dad was, they kept showing his dad. And the second most prolific passing performance in a Cowboys debut in franchise history. And when you think about the great names that have played there, I mean, obviously Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, Tony Romo's a big name. Actually, Gary Hogeboom and now Cooper Rush, 1 and 2 in terms of yards output in a debut for the Dallas Cowboys, and both of them, by the way, from Central Michigan. But on prime time, in a big-time game, I thought that was an impressive – I mean, obviously it was an impressive performance, but, man, he looked poised.
Poor Vikings, man. Vikings always do this.
Yeah.
Or prime time or big game, they always fall short. I feel bad for their fans. By the way, breaking NFL news, Von Miller to the Rams for a 2-3. It's a big deal. Rams, man.
Rams aren't messing
around. They ain't scared.
Rams are not
really
messing around.
I mean, the Ramsey trade, Stafford. I mean, they've really pushed in over the past couple of years. Can't fault them for that. And I get what the Broncos are doing. Probably time to part ways. And the Broncos are one of those teams. I shouldn't knock them for this because this is what the Colts have done. They've beaten all the bad teams they've played, and they've lost all the good ones.
Is Von Miller, is he still Von Miller?
I mean, I don't think it's fair to hold him to the standard of what he was, 2015. But yeah, I mean, he's not broken down or anything.
I mean, you got to pay attention to him.
Yeah,
I guess that's right.
For sure. I mean, still very good.
Speaking of very good.
Was he Super Bowl MVP?
Mm-hmm. He was.
Okay. I think you're right. Yeah.
I know I'm right.
Okay. Whoa. Look at you. You know why I remember that day? That was the day that we adopted Ollivander Longpaw Schultz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was what year?
2016. But February, it was the 2015 season.
So he's how old now?
We think he was 3 when we got him at the rescue. So he'll be 9.
So it wasn't long ago then. We're coming up on the anniversary. 9. We're coming up on the anniversary of when the trainer asked you to have strangers come over to the house to see how he'd respond. And he and I bonded instantly, and he was fabulous.
It actually was – it didn't work. What he wanted was, who is somebody that would agitate your dog? And you had never met my dog, but I was like, well, Jake Query agitates me, so I'll call him to come over. Right. And you came over, and Ollie, did the thing where he, rubs his head on you and, gets on his back and puts his paws up and does belly rubs. He loved you. And he hates everybody.
I'm a dog whisperer.
My dog – I love my dog. I really do. He is the biggest a-hole in the world. He hates everybody except my parents, my sister, and my wife and me, and my son, and you, and Jake Query. But that'd be par for the course. I mean, I was trying to send a text to somebody that Ashley was pregnant, and then somehow it went to you. And so you found out that we were expecting before anyone else knew. Who was I trying to text? And
you were trying to text Ashley, your wife. You guys were discussing when you were going to tell your parents. And so you sent her a text saying, why don't we wait until Father's Day because of the symbolism of the news?
Yeah, okay.
And I wrote back and said, I don't think this was intended for me, but congratulations.
Well, the problem is that you're always in my – every time I'm having a text conversation, what time do I need to be here? What do I need to do? It's just you're so needy. So every time that I'm texting with you, it's just telling you where you have to go, what you have to say, who you have to meet. Hey, what's that guy's name again? His name's Chris. We've known him for 12 years.
That does happen, yes.
It's just, my God, I got to hold your hand through everything.
Let me ask you this. How many people did I tell?
0, which I appreciate, because that was one of those things, you want to break the news yourself.
Of course.
And I had an idea of the line that I was going to say, because my wife and I only almost got divorced once, and it was when we were trying to put together IKEA furniture. So I sent out a picture of the ultrasound. I said, hopefully, it looks like this is going a lot better than that coffee table we tried to make or something like that.
Right.
So I'm glad you didn't ruin that
I said nothing.
social
to a
post for
person.
me.
You ready for Buy the Bull, Schultz?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Derek makes a statement, by the way, and then we determine whether we buy it or we consider it to be Bull Schultz.
You ready?
Yep.
Statement 1, brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy, by the way.
The Shop Indy we mentioned earlier, 920. I think I said 928. It's
929?
It's on Broad Ripple Avenue right next to the old Union Jacks. I think it's 928.
926?
It's on Broad Ripple Avenue right next to the old Union Jack,
922
right
maybe?
across from the new Union Jack. Or Clay Terrace or theshopindy.com for all of your fabulous, nostalgic, simply fashionable, soft T-shirt needs.
Statement 1, the Indiana Pacers will miss the playoffs entirely. Buy it or bull bleep. You'd have to be really bad to miss the playoffs.
You do, but I'll tell you what, Derek, I'm starting to think that's a possibility. Not even necessarily so much because of my disbelief in the Pacers as much as my being impressed by other teams. Charlotte has improved. Chicago's decent.
Look at the Knicks.
The Knicks.
Man, I thought last year was kind of a post-COVID. Randall, you catch him on a career year, right? But they really look sharp.
Yeah, you're right. And then you have the teams you know are good. I mean, I think Miami's good. Milwaukee's good. You know, you have obviously the Nets. It's going to be a challenge for Indiana. I will actually
Brooklyn
buy
is
it.
going to be there in the end.
That's I just said the Nets. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will buy that. They missed the playoffs.
I'm going to say bull bleep. I think they at the very least get in the play-in round.
Okay.
You really want to try to get in the top 6, but that's going to be difficult to do. They're bottom of the table right now. I mean, they play the Spurs tonight, so we're taping this on Monday, but they're 1-6 and in dead last right now in the East.
It's rough.
Not fun. Statement 2, an NFC team will win the Super Bowl. Buy it or bull bleep. Maybe you feel less confident with the Bucks coming off a loss. Packers and Cardinals had a heck of a game on Thursday night.
Rams
look really good.
Here's the thing.
They
Derek,
played the worst team in the NFL on Sunday.
It's one game.
Yeah.
The team in the AFC that I think has the best chance of going in and winning against an NFC team is Buffalo because of their defense, and I like Josh Allen. I'm going to go with the upset here and say Bull Schultz. An AFC team will win the Super Bowl.
Well, last year, if memory serves, the AFC was a better conference than the NFC, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Bills, Ravens, Chiefs,
Right.
and they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Buccaneers ended up winning it.
Right.
So,
It's one game.
yeah, I mean, conference strength. If you give me Rams, Bucks, Cowboys, Cardinals, Packers, or the field, I'm gonna take those NFC teams,
Right.
Because I think they're a cut above everybody else. So I'll say I'll buy it, but it's not unheard of that. And somebody's gonna make a run, Jake. You know, we always think we have it all figured out on November 1st, right? Things change quickly.
Right.
Look at the Titans in the last 3 weeks. My God. Remember, they lost to the Jets, and we're like, oh, this team's not very good. And now they've won 3 just critical games. You beat the Bills, you beat the Chiefs, and you go into Indy and win.
But now you're without your workhorse in Derrick Henry.
You know, that's only their second sweep of the Colts since 2003.
I believe that.
I mean, the Colts
owned them.
Owned them for years and years and years, and that's gone. So much has gone away. This run here for the Colts, 2015 to now, it's been so blah.
It's
just
it's
been
1985 to 90.
Like, they're not bad, they're just not any good.
Right.
And it's a really
It's
where the
more like-
Pacers have been.
It's more like 93 to 98.
It's a really frustrating place
is.
to be. Well, 93, I mean, they had some. Well, no, you're right. Up until 98, they didn't really have a truly bad team.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they did.
97
They
to
did.
98, they were bad. 93 to 96, though, they had the one run in 95,
Right.
but were mostly like an 8-8, 9-5 level team.
Just hanging around,
Yeah.
getting a new quarterback every couple years, keeping you interested.
We didn't even talk about your weather-affective disorderness or
This
whatever
time of
that
year
is.
sucks.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is you know what's coming. It's terrible. Like when it
I love it. It's crisp in the morning. I
There-
love it. 30 degrees. Air feels kind of cold in your lungs. It's kind of like smoking menthol cigarettes, except fiberglass isn't ruining everything.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But it's
Like
like
it's actually good for your health.
it's like menthol cigarettes and the fact that if you know that the future is not going to be good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because
Problem with the weather, like when
with
it gets
menthol
when it's
cigarettes.
dark at like 5 o'clock and it's raining and you just know the beautiful smell it, like the crisp smell in the air and the clear blue sky and green around you, we are like 6 months from that.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's hard because it's summer and then it's winter for the most part. Now, the colors came really late, but we actually did get some color.
We did.
Not so bad.
But the color doesn't look as good under overcast skies.
Well,
I want
it's
sun
it's
to...
rained for 2 straight weeks, essentially, and that's been tough about it. But it looks like everything's going to be clear. It's just 40s and 50s this week in Indianapolis. This is like every conversation I've had with my dad.
Don't remind me.
So, what do you think? 47 degrees today. Okay. Colts really blew it. All right.
Well,
thanks to all of our great sponsors.
your gray hair looks good. Yeah,
WGU
thanks.
Indiana, American Dairy Association Indiana, the Shop Indy, OnlyIndyTickets.com.
Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
Smoke and Barrel Barbecue.
WGU Indiana.
Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
Yep.
I think we got everybody,
I
right?
think we did.
We did. If you want to sponsor the show, Derek at QuarionSchultz.com, even though we've not had a ton of room at the end here lately. We only take on sponsors that we really believe in.
That's right. Like Smoke and Barrel.
Except that one time at work, they made me do reads for Pizza Hut, and I hate Pizza Hut. Do you remember that very early on when we started? They were like, who wants to do Pizza Hut reads? And, like, you weren't even there because you don't show up till 2:45. And I was like, well, I actually don't like Pizza Hut at all. And they're like, well, you're going to do them because Jake's not here. I'm like, I have to talk about this gross pizza. And they're like, well, you could talk to David Robinson. He's like the brand ambassador. I was like, okay, yeah, I love Pizza Hut. And that was cool. Do you remember David Robinson came on the show? He's awesome.
Okay.
Really, really cool guy.
I don't remember when David Robinson came on the show.
See, this is the problem. We have this great friendship and relationship and this memorable time, decade plus together. And I feel like I have a lot more appreciation for the show memories than you do. Like even stuff that we did like last year on this show. You're like, what? Huh?
I'm old,
when did that
Derek.
happen?
I've had a lot of great
What did they
life
pay me for that?
experiences and fabulous friends.
Ugh. Wish you would include me on that list.
Okay.
Thanks to Jordan Shue, Jake
Next
Morris, Greg Rakestraw, and our crew. We will see you next time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Have a great week.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.